You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's ride!
Hello, everybody. It's good to have you here. Good to be here. Good to be seen by the full audience, I think. Yeah, we had a little hiccup last night. I went to go check it out after the fact. For those of you who had connectivity issues, even the platforms we were connected to had some connectivity issues. But YouTube just would not connect at all. I checked it out afterwards, and apparently there was some sort of a problem that was happening at YouTube that was creating a lot of problems, connectivity, especially between video encoders like OBS. I don't know how widespread it was felt. I don't know anybody else personally that got the shaft like I did last night. But after the fact, I uploaded the video and I jumped into the shower because, as you know, I'm a nighttime showerer. I jumped into the shower, and I'm saying to myself, you know what? It wasn't meant. Why did I'm deleting that episode. It wasn't meant to be on YouTube last night. Take it off. So I took it off, and that is as deeply as I thought about it. So for those of you who are like, why isn't the episode last night even up? That's why, because something told me it wasn't meant to be there. So I left it off, but it's everywhere else. Does it make sense? Yes. Okay, well, tonight is going to be fantastic. And I want to thank everybody for showing up here. Whether you're watching over on quitefrankly.tv, that's pilled.net, YouTube, Rumble, both the Quite Frankly Rumble and Badlands. Thank you for having us on Thursday night again, Badlands. We love all the Badlanders over there. We're treated very well. And then everybody on Twitch. There's a growing little crew over there on Twitch. I hope that one day Twitch will overtake everybody and give them a run for their money. And today was a very, very, I don't know, bittersweet 4 o'clock show with Adel and Zach, Red Pill 78. We did the 4 o'clock Taking It Back, and it was the last Taking It Back ever. And, you know, I know it was just 1 hour a week, and sometimes you skip weeks, and, you know, someone can't make it here, I can't make it, it all gets, whatever. But we did that for 7 years. Me, Adel, and Dilly first, and then me, Adel, and Zach when Dilly left, and it had gone on and survived in one form or another since 2019. And it was really just a wonderful time with friends, all the configurations there. But especially as we just left off right now with me, Adel, and Zach, it was just, I loved hanging out with those guys. And we will still continue to do that. It's not the end of our time streaming together, but I guess that iteration of it, I guess that's the end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have that episode downloaded, and I'm going to cut out all of the pit stops we made today along the way to talk about geopolitics and all that stuff, and just keep in all of the personal banter and the history of how large portions of this viewing audience, at least the OGs, really came together back in 2017, 18, 19, how the earth was reshaping itself. It was really an incredible, it was a great talk. I'm sure we could have gone on forever about that. So I want to take that, cut that out, and maybe do a Sunday premiere of that, because it's just a feel-good kind of a thing. So I hope I can get them both on the show at some point. And as always, I wish them nothing but the best. But here we are on a Thursday. It's June 18th, 2026. It's nice and muggy outside, but I hope it's air conditioned and cool wherever the hell you are. And I just wanted to say before we get into introducing our guest, Molly at Keto Brainz sent me all the stuff that's going to be in the raffle at the end of June. And here it is. It is a massive amount of stuff there. You get the ultimate gifting bundle over there, which is another full bag of Keto Brainz. If you win the raffle, there's probably going to be runners up as well. Full bag, you get a mug, you get the jars, you get the blenders, you get a full bag of the creatine, which is, they got a great creatine product over there. A bottle of the nattokinase, which I think you should go to Keto Brainz and buy that anyway. It's only like $26, and that is just a daily supplement for circulation, blood pressure support, and of course, if you have anything on your mind about clotting or clot breakups, that's it right there, the nattokinase. She's also throwing in a bottle of the BPC 157. That's wonderful for soft tissue repair and everything, and then a bag of Dulsa as well. So that's it. That's what it is. You use promo code June or any other, quite frankly, promo code on ketobrainz.com. Like I said, even if you don't win this raffle, you gotta get the creamer. Put it in whatever the hell you want, food, drink, whatever the hell you want. Your brain needs it. It's for all phases of life. It's fantastic. It really is. And speaking of brains, that is the big brains of my little girl Aurora. I want to congratulate her for moving on to, I guess, what would be considered past the kindergarten area in Montessori. She's already doing first grade work and stuff like that, but that is just, she officially graduated with a couple other kinders in her Montessori enrichment classes, and it was just really amazing. We showed up and she had this green cap and gown on, and I was just like, where did this cap and gown come? She looks so beautiful in this cap and gown, and I'm just I'm over the moon. So just want to congratulate her, and that's that. We're also going to be doing our super chat raffle tonight. So support the show, and I'll tell you what you're winning at the end of the night, and that's it. Okay, here we go. So you guys know that I love talking about hidden history, lost technology, whatever the hell it is. And in the past, no matter how many times we've talked about lost cities and hidden history and tech and all that stuff, one of my favorite topics to crack open, but one of my favorite subtopics to crack open, is the age of the airship. Okay? The rigid dirigible. That's particularly interesting because we've talked about the Hindenburg. We're going to bring the Hindenburg back up again tonight too. But we've got a fantastic guest coming on with us. Okay? Tonight we're going to be bringing in a new friend. His name is Logan, and you can find all of his work on YouTube and on Instagram. He goes by Luminary Lighthouse. Luminary Lighthouse. And I mean, he picks apart real logic-defying stories from history. Interesting structures and architecture from the late 19th century. Essentially asking the question, did we really build all this stuff? Was it here before? Mud flood kind of stuff. I mean, we talk about that with people like Matt from Cultivate Elevate. He couldn't come on tonight. I thought that would have been awesome for him to hop in at the end of this, but it is, I love the way that Logan does this work as well. And it's just going to be a great time tonight. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that right now. But first I want to set the table. Something that had caught my eye. Now, this was back in 2025. I had kept it on ice for a night like tonight. This is from spectrum.ieee.org. LTA research airship flies over San Francisco Bay. Sergey Brin's startup is exploring the limits of its giant Pathfinder 1 dirigible. The age of the airship is back, kind of. On May 15th, startup LTA Research flew its Pathfinder 1 airship outside of Silicon Valley's Moffett Federal Airfield for the first time. The 124-meter-long helium airship took 2 loops over the waters of San Francisco Bay before safely returning to base. That makes it the largest aircraft to fly in public since the 1930s, when the series of crashes ended the glory years of airship travel. The milestone flight was the culmination of 12 years of work for LTA Research, which is funded by Google co-founder Sergey Brin. It was a bit emotional to see it over the bay performing as well as it did, said the startup vice president of engineering, Peter Sonic. Sonic grew up on the Lake Constance region of Germany, where the first Zeppelin airships were made. Flight testing the Pathfinder 1 is more than just learning how it flies, adds LTA's new CEO, Brett Crozier. It's trying to lay the foundation for a future of electric aviation that's more sustainable, more adaptable, more capable, in a way that will potentially change the way that we move cargo and people around the world. This is just incredible to me. That statement right there is incredible to me, because that is what underpinned the forecasting of what rigid dirigibles, airships, were going to do for humanity coming into the 20th century. And then they just went away, especially after that no doubt sabotage job that was the Hindenburg. No doubt in hell. I mean, in heaven and hell. On earth. Airships can theoretically transport passengers and goods using about a quarter of the energy of jet planes. We know this. So it's an updated helium giant. It was built the Hangar 2 at Moffett Field was built at the start of World War II to accommodate the Navy's new lighter-than-air fleet. Remains one of the largest unsupported wooden structures in the world. The interior space is breathtaking, a cathedral of wood so vast it can occasionally generate its own clouds. Beneath the vast vault of timber, the Pathfinder 1, awe-inspiring in its enormity, rests on a few small landing wheels. There it is. Very big place, very big space. So, and of course, they're using helium instead of hydrogen. But hydrogen is really not the big issue here, as you'll see. As you will see. But there are multiple airship startups foresee various uses. LTA is not the only company trying to bring airships back to life. British firm Hybrid Air Vehicles says that it is preparing a factory to build an intriguing 100-passenger design with a soft, blimp-like envelope in a wing-like shape to provide aerodynamic lift. The company hopes to be producing dozens by 2030, despite its only prototype so far breaking free of its mooring and deflating in 2019. Flying Whales, based in France, want to build a 180-meter airship, or airships, at a factory in Quebec, while Aeros in LA plans to deploy drones from its airships. Just incredible, isn't it? Well, that is going to be a great time to bring on our new friend, Logan from Luminary Lighthouse. We're going to bring him on. I enjoy his work a hell of a lot. And Logan, welcome to the show.
What's going on, man? How you doing? Thanks for letting me be here.
Oh, it's great to have you on. Your work, I said that he's going to fit in just great with this show. Really is. And I'm looking at this, I'm telling you, my attention is getting pulled to one part of this where they are making airships commercially relevant again as a challenge they're talking about, but they figure that this is something, the way that they are talking about this being what could be a game changer in the future, just made me gasp a little bit, because, you know, I was surprised to see the story pop up. Just for you and I, when we think about airships, we may think about the Goodyear blimp advertising over some professional golf tournament, even though I haven't seen a blimp in what seems to be years. But you certainly would never suspect that airships were once thought to be the future. But you know all about that. Why don't you let people, give people a little bit of a background of just how much they were revered in the early 20th?
Yeah, I mean, it was this technology was everything. I mean, carrying passengers, mail, cargo, military, it was literally everything. And, the theory is, and what I believe, and a lot of people that probably been on this show, that it was around a whole lot longer than we know. And I feel like airships were the last of the old world. I kind of hate to say the old world now because I feel like it's, said a little too much, but it's a good way to put it, right? It was the last bit of old world to get, freely around, freely around. And it just it's really silly to see, and it's kind of like electric vehicles. I mean, electric vehicles were, popular late 19th century, early 20th century. I mean, they were getting, 100 miles, 120 miles on a battery in the early 20th century. It's just like that. I think they're giving us a little nugget of it, like, hey, dirigibles, they're coming, guys. They're coming back, I promise. But yeah, I don't trust that.
Yeah,
Don't trust that at all.
well, I love this because the old world talk we're gonna go deep into that tonight because this leads us to so many other doors that we have knocked on and walked through in the past. But it's going to be great to see your work applied to these conversations. Everybody, please just give us a like, a share, and a comment as we jump into this thread now that I have referenced in the past. I sent it to you, and I want to read at least, especially the first 7. This is a long thread. We won't do the whole thing, but the first 7 or so tweets in this by Real Human Schwab really shows you what was put into this technology back in the day. And at any time, Logan, you just jump in and add on to whatever you want. We're reading this together. So here it goes.
Of course.
The Hindenburg represented the finest in air travel. It also represented the finest in Nazi propaganda. It was a national symbol paraded at sporting events, rallies, and other events where Nazis wanted to show off their prowess. By the end of 1936, Hindenburg had crossed the Atlantic 34 times, carrying over 3,500 passengers, and the ship's highly successful 1936 season seemed to indicate the regular transatlantic air service had arrived. Imagine a world in which luxury travel was not only available to everyone, but was also affordable. In its day, airship travel was twice as fast as steamship travel and didn't require one to spend days adjusting to tossing and turning on the ocean. These luxury airships were called hotels in the sky. You could leisurely float around 500 to 1,000 feet above the ocean in your transoceanic journey. Here's an excerpt from a Hindenburg brochure. Here's a quote. You open your... Yeah, I know. I mean, this is just like, I mean,
yeah,
please.
Living the life, dude. Living the life. Pinkies up. Pinkies up.
Look at this guy over here. He's writing a manuscript. You open your suitcase and arrange your clothes in the wardrobe. At last, your shaving kit, hairbrushes, and other articles of toilet are displayed upon the toilet stand. At once, your cabin acquires a homely, personal atmosphere. You listen for the roar of the engines or the fierce rush and vibration of the air, but apart from a distant quiet murmur, everything is tranquil and peaceful. You feel nothing will disturb your sleep. Logan, I tell you, I have never taken more than a 5-minute uncomfortable nap on a plane in my life.
Right?
I can't.
Yeah. I always jump out of it, It's like, yeah, there's, some of it is hard to believe, but it's so true. And I'm waiting for you to get to the... Don't they? Maybe that was the first article. They were talking about the weather and how the weather was, hard on these airships. But go ahead. I'm going to add to that here in a second.
Okay, you got it. Here's more from the brochure. Your steward appears and explains to you the arrangement of the handles and switches for light, for heat, and ventilation. You are shown the bell push in your cabin, which will bring him to your side at any time during the day or night. Now, before he leaves, he reminds you that you can leave your shoes outside your cabin door for cleaning. You begin to feel that nothing has been overlooked to ensure your comfort. There has even been a pressurized smoking room installed. Passengers entered the room via an airlock, and it was specially insulated to keep hydrogen from leaking into it. The only cigarette lighter allowed on the ship was built into the lounge itself, which it was open day and night. Not only were such flying hotels much more comfortable than modern flight, they are also much more fuel efficient than any modern jetliner or vehicle. The Hindenburg was capable of flying around the world in 1936 without stopping for fuel.
Around the world.
Around the world.
Yeah, and 2 days to Europe. I mean, just you're in a hotel. 2 days later, you're in Europe. I mean, it's We need it so badly. We need it so badly. And I don't really know exactly. I know civilians could. You had to go through quite a bit to get smaller, not these big ones, but you just kind of picture in your mind like what would it be like now? Like where would this be? And then even in, when 1930s, 20s, they were talking about in Scientific America and all those magazines, a an airship that doesn't need a hangar, right? It was durable enough just to sit outside because all of these had to go through sit in hangars overnight because they were terrified of something happening to it. But I mean, it was really taken off. I guess a little too quick, a little too quick.
A little too. Here's a little bit more about the efficiency of travel. In 1937, the world lost an 800-foot-long floating platform that would move at 85 miles per hour and carry over 200,000 pounds of cargo and to an unlimited range. Airports and runways were not necessary. Cruising speed was 3 times faster than steamship. And of course, you can say, "Oh, I can't imagine going 85 miles an hour over across the sea." But you know what? We're talking about the end of an age that if we had continued on for the next 100 years, you're telling me that it wouldn't have gotten faster, more stable, miniaturized, or who the hell knows what else? Anyway, safe and luxurious travel from Germany to America in under 50 hours, like you said, 2 days. And it's crazy. Here you go. The savings in petroleum using lighter than air designs like the Hindenburg would have been 90% or more. We were getting dangerously close to free energy travel if the technology had been developed, standardized, and like I said before, miniaturized. Just imagine.
I mean, that's 90% of the reason it disappeared right there. was that comment, And listen to this, listen to these stats right here. Before World War I, Zeppelins carried over 34,000 passengers on over 1,500 flights without a single injury. Without a single injury, okay? And then another, form of a Zeppelin also carried 10,197 paying passengers before World War I interrupted the service. This is all before World War I. So we're talking about, 1910s and I mean, early 1920s maybe, but that's a lot of people and no injury. Nothing happened to these airships until it was recorded on video, right?
Right. Absolutely. And then I mean that in and of itself is crazy. And I've talked about this. There's a lot on here documented. Of course, all of the videos don't play anymore because this is I archived it because I knew that the original thread would be removed at some point. But the Hindenburg you're talking about in Lakehurst, in New Jersey, May 6, 1937, brought an end to the age of the rigid airship. Reportedly, the disaster's 36 deaths included 33 passengers, 22 crew members, and 1 worker on the ground. Now, what they don't tell you is that 66 people survived. And
66. I just want to, reference the number there, 66.
66 survived. After more than 30 years of passenger air travel, commercial Zeppelins in which tens of thousands of passengers flew over 1 million miles on more than 2,000 flights without a single injury, like you said, the era of the passenger ship came to an end in a few fiery minutes. And when you look into the actual what coalesced there in Lakehurst with having all of these people, I mean, first of all, just like 9/11, there was at least one person being told not to go near the Hindenburg or get on it that day. They also brought in dozens of media to cover this, what at that point was becoming a very mundane thing. It
was boring for him. It was boring for him. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, it was the same scenario. You're right. Of 9/11 and all the other false flags. And I like to say, this was kind of one of the first recorded false flags, I feel like, right? Am I wrong? I don't know when, I guess it could be.
It was recorded, but that's the thing. Because of the time, it was actually produced. If you think about 1898 or whatever, and the USS Maine that really kicked off, it was the press. Yellow journalists at the press, like Joseph Pulitzer and all those people, they really were the ones that launched that war. the Spanish-American War, and the reporting on the Maine. Of course, that right there was just something you had to draw a picture of the USS Maine getting blown up in Cuba. But with this, you can tell that when you watch and listen to the actual footage that the all of the sound effects, the voices were put in over the top, and they brought in voice actors and everything else like that to just. Now, here's one thing I got to ask you. Why do you think, why would this end it all? Why would this one thing end it all? If it was so efficient, if there were countries that were invested in this thing being successful and actually developing more into the coming years, why the hell would one disaster, whether it was sabotage or not, put the kibosh on everything? And here we are now 100 years into air travel, and man, there ain't going to be no day that we stop constructing new airplanes, no matter how many of them crash over time.
Yeah, right. And I mean, just to look at the countries, and I don't have it in front of me, but the typical countries that you would think that had these airships, for all of them to stop immediately after that went down, up in flames, kind of tells you, what's going on there. They were all on the same team at some level, right? And I see these airships as the structures that they're still burning today. I see it in the news still, these, 1898 structure, post office that's big and grand, getting burnt and it's stone still. That still happens. But I just see it as another old world footprint that they're trying to get rid of. And if you look at the 19th century, you can tell the link of chain. So in the old world, the previous civilization that was before us, that was building these grand cathedrals and these, massive structures that we've never seen happen today. We've never seen even just the state capitals. I mean, we haven't seen anything built like that, but you can tell that, they were right at the beginning of the 19th century, they were slowly trying to get all of those means of transportation out of the way. So, canal infrastructure, they supposedly did the Erie Canal, 300 something miles. And, I think it's like 6 years, something like that, 6 or 8 years. And that canal travel started and it was going, but not for long, and then rail comes in. Well, there goes canal travel. So that goes away. The canals get grown over, they get, filled in, and then it's rail for a little bit. And then rail gets knocked out by automobiles, right? And it's almost like that's where they wanted us to get. But once they got to automobiles and they realized that they were going to have to, well, one, knock out the electric cars, and then two, get the airship out of the way. So I feel like the canal infrastructure and railroad infrastructure, as well as the airships, were the main ways that this civilization previous to us was traveling. And they were traveling pretty much for free, it seems like. Obviously it wasn't probably completely for free, but it might have been. Who knows? I mean, they were obviously getting free energy. So with the spires we see around.
Yeah. And there's a lot connected to that too, especially the mooring stations and mooring stations that people. I mean, I don't know. I want to get it. I'll ask you because you're mentioning the old world and the previous civilization. Now, people can say that we've seen civilization change hands just within our own lifetime. But this and up on the screen, I just wanted to throw that up here. That is a original 1937 headline over there, New York World Telegram, that I actually had somebody send me a few years ago, and I framed. It's over there in that corner over there. So this is a legitimate one, and I framed this to save it. But here's the thing I got to ask you. So I've talked with Matt from Cultivate Elevate and a few other people who have come on to talk specific. My friend Jack, the observation room. We were talking about Tartaria and all of these mud flood theories and World's Fairs and all that. But one thing I still just don't understand is that you guys will and you probably I know that you talk about anomalies in construction. At least construction anomalies. I just don't know how far you go back or how far you go down the rabbit hole with this one. For example, speaking of mooring stations for these airships, one of our, you know, the poster child for New York construction and the New York City skyline is the Empire State Building. And
Yeah.
I have some friends who say that the Empire State Building has always been there, and I'm like, that sounds absolutely batshit. I mean, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you thinking about this?
So if you look at the Empire State Building, it is a mooring station. I mean, you know, the top of that building, and I wish I could get the photo up quickly, but it is a mooring station, and it was built to have a mooring station at the top. Now, a lot of it is also the time of construction. I mean, they also say the Empire State Building was under a year or around a year built, and those 2 points, mainly the construction part, you can really tell when that narrative says something about a 1 or 2 year build, and it's a, you know, it's a skyscraper. It's a skyscraper. So, and whether we could do that in 1 year, 2 year, I don't know. I wasn't there, but to me that sounds ridiculous. So, you know, I'm with your friends that kind of put it in that corner of like, maybe that thing was already here, and just the cherry on top is that it is a mooring station on the top of the Empire State Building. And you know, there's a lot of other structures in New York, man, that I need to send you. The Waldorf hotel. You know, I wish I should have got these photos up, but didn't know we were going to talk about it. But there's a ton of these old world structures that you wouldn't think might have just been standing there, but you know, with the narrative and what it says, and the impossibility in a lot of it, the way it looks, the intricateness, the, you know, different architectural styles all in one. And I'm just talking about the outside right now. I mean, some of the one I just said, the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, is one of the most insane structures that I've ever seen, and I can actually pull that up and share that if you want me to. But
well, let me let me get to your Instagram. Maybe we can just play that. Maybe we can just play that video, because I know I've seen it before.
The Empire State Building or the Waldorf?
The Waldorf.
Yes.
Do you have it pinned or something?
No, it's not too far down. Here, let me see if I can find it right now.
I'm looking around.
It's not that. It was like a month or two. It was like a month or two ago. Oh, Waldorf Astoria Hotel. So it's not that far away. I don't know if my sound will work.
Oh, I got it. I got it. Only 32 years don't fit that one.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I actually hearted this one. Hold on a second. Let me get it up. All right. Well, let me get this. Actually, 1 second. I'll bring this up in its own screen.
And this is the thing right here before I'll set it up. The 32 years points to how long this structure was here. They built this structure. First, they tore down, you know, Astor, the famous, you know, I forget his name, but Astor, that was on the Titanic and when it sank, who was actually a black fellow, just FYI. He was melanated, wasn't a white guy. But, you know, they knocked down his mansions. You know, he knocked down his mansions and built a hotel. Then his relative built another hotel next to it. And then they put it together, and I'll show you, you know, you can do the video and you'll see what it looks like. And it was only there for 32 years. So,
okay, let's see here.
Empire State Building, Zeppelin mooring mast. So they built it. They built it to have a mooring mast on top. Whoa. So they built the Empire State Building 1 year in 1 year. In 45 days, they built it in 1 year and 40. They built the Empire State Building to be a mooring mast. I mean, they really had high hopes for airships, didn't they? What's even crazier than that line I just told you, is that before this was there, the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. And it was only there, this hotel, for 32 years. And then they built the Empire State Building. But there's something before this, the Astor family mansions. This was one of them, and this was the other one, the other Astor family's mansion. This is the hotel being demolished after 32 years. They said it took 2 whole months because of how sturdy the materials were. We hear that so much. Yeah, it took a while to tear this thing down because whoever built it, They built it to last, and then it doesn't last at all. And there was a lot of buildings that weren't lasting in New York. The annual house wrecking bill in New York exceeds $200 million. And this is two separate hotels that joined together from the Astor family that had the mansions beforehand. Okay, the first one, the Waldorf, was built in 1890 to 1893, a 3-year build. Then the Astoria was 1895 to 1897, a 2-year build. And then they thought, let's just put them together. Both hotels combined, the Waldorf Astoria Hotel,
Look at the inside.
had 1,300 bedrooms. And I know that's just a number being thrown out, but 1,300 rooms during that time is massive. Hilton Times Square in downtown New York, in Times Square, has about 500 rooms, plus 800 bathrooms. And listen, in the 1890s, just to have your own bathroom in your bedroom, that was high class. That was luxury. Plus, the plumbing technology wasn't quite there yet to do all of that, but it was for this.
Okay, so here's what I got to ask you, and
Please.
it's just a basic question here that I don't.
I love it.
I've never
Love it.
I've never gotten a straight answer on it though. How much history do you have to erase, even from like Revolutionary War letter writing between George Washington and General Lee, or so, whatever the hell, if there was because I've heard this with the first Yankee Stadium here too. It's impossible to build the first Yankee Stadium. All the granite came from over here. How did you get over there? How did it go up so quick?
Logistics, right? Right.
Okay, not understanding the logistics of how something can, maybe at first can be done in this time period. I understand that. But for me to think that our founding fathers never once spoke about how there was a baseball stadium and a skyscraper in the middle of Manhattan back then is a little odd. Where did if it was always there, when did it show up?
Yeah, that's a very good question. That's kind of the mystery to it, right? I'm still starstruck with that. Like I don't really know that answer I can't give you a really good answer for it, but I just know that if we're looking at like the founding fathers, and if they said anything about these structures, well, where are we trying to find the information from? I'm talking about that specifically. Like if we really wanted to look and see if they said anything about these structures that were here, where would we look? Well, we'd have to look online. I mean, I'm sure there is, written, letters and stuff, but I'm pretty sure all of the things that did say something about these structures have been gone for a long time. And I don't even know if the founding father part is true at this point. Frank, I'm going to be honest with you. Like I just, I keep it open. Right? I don't know what really is true or false of our past. I do know that there was a civilization very recently, that obviously, and a lot of what points to that is these structures, and they could be, hey, listen, they could be completely lying to us about all these structures. It's Wikipedia, it's the internet. I'm getting my information off the internet, so I don't, how do I know that that's 100% true? But it's a hard lie to do, right? On all of it, even your side, even my side, could be lying to both of us. I don't know.
It could be,
but it is the mystery. It is the mystery for sure.
It is.
So, like, to your point, like, okay, because a lot of people ask me about the Native Americans. Like, well, why didn't the Native Americans, say anything about these structures? And first off, the Native Americans aren't who we think the Native Americans aren't the true Native Americans. The true Native Americans that were in America were Moorish. Have you heard that before?
I have not. No.
Oh, Lord. Okay. That's a deal. I'll have to come on for another episode. But so a lot of what these structures are, and what I point to, and who I point to for building these, is the Moorish civilization, and not like Northern Africa, like, out of America. And so when people say, well, why hasn't Native Americans said anything about these structures? I get lost in the fact that I don't believe the Native Americans that we think are Native Americans are. I believe that it was actually melanated people, black people, and they were the true natives of this land. And then they kind of focused on another group of natives. That I see your face going. Please
I don't know.
shoot me the question.
No. Just keep going.
I'm not the best explainer for this, but I do have videos on it. But like if you look up,
Are we talking about are we talking about survivors from Atlantis or something like that, or what?
Well, so I think they're the natives. Like they were here. These were the first people here. Was a black population that would be known as the Moors today. And this goes. We're gonna have to come back on this one.
I think so.
I'm gonna have to prepare for this one. But I didn't think we would be going to the. Are we going on airships?
Well, I mean, yeah. Oh yeah. Well, well, hey, listen, you brought me here. My whole question is because of course the airships connect to something like the Empire State Building because that I know if mainstream explanations for the whole, that being a mooring station for airships, they'll say that's just a myth and it's not real. Same thing with the Eiffel Tower. I mean, I know that that's just that's an 1889. The basic thing about the Eiffel Tower is that it was just going to be there for the 1889 exposition, and that's just the way it was. And now, of course, this all say that there's a mythological reason for that too, and that is airships. Which hell, I mean, no matter whether there's a lost civilization and which of which stripe. You can tell that airships were very important for a lot of people and had a lot of ceiling still as far as how it would be able to serve humanity going into the 20th century. And, it ties into all the questions I have for you, your opinions on some of these World's Fairs too, because where I find a lot of the Tartaria, the Empire State Buildings and the stadiums were already here stuff to be a little bit unbelievable. I a lot more readily accept the whole premise of, what a lot of people in ufology have said, that we have been living through a lost century of progress where we have been stunted artificially, where so much has been held back from us as far as technology that exists, technology that was discovered, rediscovered, whatever the hell it was. And like, for example, World Fair technology. Yeah. They're talking about nuclear powered civilizations, nuclear powered cars, airplanes, ships. We got power plants now, but everything else is still petrol. So you understand where the hell is going on with that. But, I think me personally, where we find something interesting to ponder is how many of these technologies failed because they were impractical. Like, for example, in some of these World's Fairs, they're talking about how everybody at this point in the game would be living a Jetsons-like existence, having personal helicopters and all that other stuff, which that's just impractical. People are bad enough drivers, let alone pilots.
Of course.
But the other question is how many, and we're going back to the Hindenburg, how many failed because of timeline sabotage? And that's where things like airships connect to World's Fair and other things for me, where the World's Fairs weren't just exhibitions of technology, they were actually exhibitions of possible timelines for humanity. So, and then it just stopped. And that's where I'm a little bit more, I find myself these days.
Yeah, well, so, and to be honest with you, Frank, I didn't really know that you didn't subscribe to some of the things that, the old world or the Tartaria. I don't really consider myself Tartarian. Of course, it's the same kind of research, of course. But like I said, I kind of believe there was a different civilization here. That's besides the point. But yeah, I didn't really know that you kind of didn't subscribe to that stuff.
No, I love it.
It's
I know. But the more
it's hard for you to contemplate, and I get it. It was hard for me to for a long time.
Well, you're gonna have to. You're definitely gonna have to. We're gonna have to lay out the timeline for the more stuff because that I've never heard. But everything else, I mean, we often talk about anomalies in what we can see left over from the late 19th century.
Yeah.
And how we were trending as a civilization, how we were what we were forecasting, and then all of a sudden it stopped. Now, whether or not we were intentionally stunted and we just went into some more of a primitive, brutalist kind of style of doing everything, or it really was that we are a civilization with extreme amnesia and had just been working around the ruins of another, people who live in Rome. I mean, they got the Colosseum right in the middle of their backyard over there, and they are constantly reminded of a completely different civilization that used to exist right there, and they are in the midst of the ruins. It seems like we are, what you and other guests of mine suggest are really living in the midst of ruins of a civilization we can't even conceive of.
Yeah, and I think the 19th century was a whole lot more than I could ever theorize about. And, the mud flood situation, I think there was many of those. I think there was many resets, whether they were deliberate or natural, who knows? But in the 19th century, and this is why I say like the founding fathers thing, and it sounds stupid coming out of my mouth, but from as far as I'm concerned, from what I've, researched and looked into, our timeline that we're in now has started in the 19th century, late 18th century. And before that, like, I don't really even know if any of the information before that is 100% true. And it's kind of hard for you to, it's hard for me to say the founding fathers, who knows if they're, this and that, and not even the founding fathers, but the stories that we get, of, the Europeans coming over and Amerigo Vespucci, we named it that, America after Amerigo Vespucci. All of those stories just seem silly now that I look at them, because of what I've dug into and realized what had to have already been here in the 19th century. And that is the architecture that, I make videos on. It's very, very obvious to me that these structures, and really, if one of those videos that I have, if even just one of them, which I think there's many of them, I don't think I'm right on everything. It's obviously theories. That's what I do, is speculate. And that's what I'm kind of trying to put off to people is, hey, look at the history and think for yourself. And, if you got a theory, throw it out there. If you want to speculate about it, if you see an anomaly in it, talk about it. But, yeah, I forgot where I was going with that. But
no, it's true. No, you actually, you tied it up very nice there. Last week we had a guest on, Scott Dawson, and he was bringing us through the whole story of the lost colony of Roanoke. And that's something that we were taught as kids, that, hey, this was a frontier. This was the next frontier for European settlers, and came over, and that first colony of Roanoke was, they put it all out on the line to cross the pond and start something new over here and pave the way for the rest of us. And that they disappeared, and that the early and then Jamestown, and then everything, and then we have whatever. But that lost colony of Roanoke, that was just one of those things where we were taught it. It was a chapter in a history book as kids, and it was a mysterious thing, a little bit of a cautionary tale about what the kind of risks you take on for great reward in exploring a new alien place. But at the same time, Scott comes on. And it wasn't even like it was a misunderstanding of things that were reported on back in the 17th century or 16th century. I was shocked that the whole thing was a fabrication based on a play that was being written and promoted in 1937. Actually, the year of the Hindenburg.
Really? Same year.
It's crazy. And so it wasn't even like... It was like until 1937, it seems like most people knew that the lost colony of Roanoke was actually never lost, and people just kind of migrated to other islands, and others assimilated with the natives here and all that stuff, and everybody was well accounted for, and there was just a lot of legends and lore that popped up along the way. But what we are taught as history was really just a marketing push for a 20th century stage play. So
there you go.
Exactly.
That's it. Like, okay, so and to just, feed off of that, that's, those stories like that, when you find enough of them, that's how you start to really doubt as far back as I go, because I have found a lot, and personally I have, and a lot of it is within 19th century articles. And one of the ones that I found, and I'm sure you've heard about star forts and those
Yes.
structures. Well, that's a smoking gun in all of this. If you're really skeptical, and I'm talking to the people watching, if you're really skeptical about this research, start with star forts at Fort Jefferson, Fort Monroe, Fort Pulaski. Read those narratives and tell me if you believe those, and then we'll take it from there. And then the next one would be asylums, the insane asylums. So the insane asylums is how how this previous civilization, whoever they were, was erased. A lot of them, how they were erased. I do think there was some sort of cataclysmic event that did, bury parts of these structures. 1 level, 2 level. You'll find so many times in these structures narratives that, the first, it's the front door is actually on the first level, but there's a, the second level, but there's a, another level behind it, below it, and the old basement is below that. But what is, so when I was a kid, I grew up in Texas. I grew up in Matagorda County. Matagorda County is it's just south of Galveston. All right, so if you picture Galveston, you go a couple counties down, that's where Matagorda is. Well, that's where LaSalle, right? LaSalle, that came over, one of the Europeans that came over, and he missed the Mississippi River, right? Do you remember this story that we were all told? He missed the Mississippi River and found Texas. Basically, he landed in Texas. Where's his name? Hold on, I can never say his first name, so I don't ever say it. But
I'm terrible with names. It's okay.
Okay. He's one of the French that came over and was, one of the first like settlers that came over, supposedly. And he landed in Matagorda Bay, and it's one of those stories that they land, and it's just the Indians are killing them off left and right. It's complete wilderness. They get wood from the boats and make their shack, and they make a fort. That's what they make, the first thing, right? And so that's the story we get. Well, when I'm digging through the archives on that topic, I find an article that completely pushes that aside, and it's kind of like what you're saying. I mean, I feel like a lot of these 19th century people, like our ancestors, like in our couple, whatever, 3, 4, 5 generations ago, they knew that all of this stuff that we were going to eventually be taught was false, and they were finding the information on it. And that, I was going to share my screen real quick if I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
So LaSalle is your typical, colonizer. There's the word. Freaking, I was trying to find colonizer coming over, and he basically missed the Mississippi. Supposedly, he just completely flat out missed it. Mind you, he had already gone down the Mississippi and made 7 or 8 forts in Lake Michigan, and all down into off the Mississippi River. And so
you should be able to share now.
Okay, great. This is one of the stories that this was at the beginning of my research that opened my eyes, but I've found a lot of these stories, and I really would love to come back on with these stories and have them all condensed, like the stories that I've found in articles that kind of go against the narrative. Because for me, once I find enough of these, then it's just hard for me to even, believe any of it really. And then you add on the star forts, the insane asylums, and the infrastructure we talk about, and that's how it makes it easy for me personally to believe in this old world talk. So typical colonizer story, like I just said, they built wooden shacks. They had buffalo hide. That's when buffaloes were still around. Buffalo hide as the roof. They built a church out of wood, and then they put a fence around it, and that was a fort. Okay, Fort St. Louis is what it was called in Matagorda County, right off of Matagorda Bay. So living in Matagorda Bay, growing up in Matagorda Bay, we were taught that over and over again. Well, I mean, hell, our museum had, had all of the, these relics and stuff from it, which I believe it was relics, but who knows who it was from. But so when I found this article, it kind of threw a hole through it. It really did. And what these people are discovering, they're on the premises that the fort was on, wooden fort. But if you go down here, and I won't read the whole article, obviously it's really long, but they talk about, let's see, where is it? Well, we'll just go down here. So he's talking about that there was, he's finding huge stone walls, a stone bastion with holes going through the actual stone. It was a fort, a real fort, a star fort, right? So he says right here, this will be quick. So turning north from the ruins of the church or castle. So he's calling this thing a church or a castle. Well, I've never heard of a wooden castle before. So and up here he starts
in a
to
place,
talk about,
and he's giving testimony about structures he found in a place where there was no settlement prior
where
to
LaSalle's colony was supposed to be, and where LaSalle's fort was supposed to be.
Gotcha.
So he went straight to that area and started snooping around, and found these massive stone ruins, which I believe was a star fort. And why I believe that is because they're freaking everywhere. They're everywhere, and they're anomalies. I mean, they stick out. And have you read into some of those forts, I guess, before?
No, but I've seen them. I've seen them brought up, and now I'm starting to understand why. So the star, essentially, it's just one of those things that pre-existed, and we're starting to
Yes.
there's evidence that these things pre-existed. Now, does that tie into insane asylums, or is that a completely different thread to be pulled?
Yeah, they might be the same civilization that actually built all of this stuff. I like to think that there's much older stuff and there's much newer stuff, right? And some of these star forts might be some of the older stuff. The insane asylum stuff is more recent. That's as in, changing the narrative as if it was always an insane asylum. These structures weren't. And I have so much. I have a slide pulled up right now with both of those topics that we can come back to and and talk about. So yeah.
I wonder now. So, is this all natural as we start putting a bow on this one? Because obviously this is going to be chapter 1 of what I hope is going to be many more talks.
Please.
But I always wonder about the people who are doing this. So, for example, going back to my World's Fair thoughts, which I know that you do a lot on the World's Fair from similar standpoints as as friends of mine too, where so much was erected in such a short amount of time, and it was all designed to be essentially disposable, or they were just burned out of existence. I've done a decent amount of research outside of some book club that we did on the Chicago World Fair of 1893. To know that there are at least some examples, and that is one of them, where it was a very rushed, very dangerous construction project, and it looked like stone and marble structures, but a lot of it was wood and staff. Right. And a lot of it did get blown down by wind or gone up in fires, and so I know that how chaotic some of that was, but that doesn't explain all of them. And I understand, but. So for those anomalies, and we don't have time to get into which ones there are, I always wonder, like going back to before what I said, the World's Fairs seeming less like exhibitions of technology and more like exhibitions of possible future timelines. But my question is, on whose side were the organizers and planners of the World's Fairs? Because, were they hopeful for that future? Were they building toward that, and somebody else, some other much more powerful, darker, malevolent force get in their way? Or were they, for some reason, going through all of that trouble just to taunt people with a preview of a world that would never be possible because they themselves were not going to allow it.
Yeah, I see what, man, I want to like show you so much because I like, yeah, I want to show you so much that I've found in that research. Because I didn't know like you had these questions, which is great. Like I'm so glad you do because I have a lot of topics that I can talk to you about, whether you think they're true or not, or want to follow them or look into them. But yeah, I think so. If we're saying that that's pre-existing infrastructure, I think it's just another ploy to get those buildings erased. Of course, there were real buildings that were built. I'm sure. I mean, I have all of the states, that were in the World's Fair. Every state, they're building. A lot of those are real buildings that they built. But whoever the evil powers, and they were evil, whoever took over, and I'm not going to say the typical names because I'm not going to pretend like I know who the hell was taking this over. They started these fairs and to eventually erase them and then start a narrative of, oh, well, these were built and now we're going to demolish them right after we do it. And I mean, it's just kind of as simple as that. I don't think it's, anything too intricate. And I think the people that, took over the 19th century are still running it today. But I don't know if they're the same names that we all say now, or not. But yeah, it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle I'm still trying to figure out, obviously.
It's quite a it adds a couple of extra layers to the insidiousness of the whole thing if that's really what it looks like was going on, because it's not even just a matter of, like I said before, the preview of what was possible. The fact that you can actually pull together some of the world's greatest inventors or some of the world's most revolutionary ideas that would totally break the paradigm on what would be possible with transportation or energy or anything else like that.
Yeah.
And to put together fairs that bring people's hopes for the future up to here, only to have the fairs really be a demolition project. Right. That is a different level of evil, if that is true.
And a start to the narrative. The world's Columbian exposition, Columbia, Columbus, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all a farce. I hope everybody that's watching knows that that's not true, but that's one of them. Like it was to start the narrative, to start the timeline that we're in right now, that we're still trying to break out of. It's hard to wrap your mind around, but I would love to keep cracking at it with you.
You know what? We should actually start there next time. We should start with Columbus. I want to hear what you have to say. I've done plenty of reading on Columbus. I'll get brushed up, so I have some follow-up questions. Great. I mean, I guess it would make sense that would be the starting point of what would have to be a major cover-up of what you are saying was always here on the Western Hemisphere. So yeah.
Columbus was Jewish, by the way, and it's not a coincidence that the Spanish Inquisition was the same year that he set sail. Just a little nugget there.
A little nugget indeed.
1492, he sailed the ocean blue. I think he was getting the hell out of there, what he was doing, and following other people that were already over here. But that's just me.
Logan, you might have more people that think that that's the way it is. More people than you think. And then again, your work stands on its own here. You have a nice, vibrant community of subscribers, and I love the way that you prepare your videos, and it hooked me right in. I'm glad we got to do this tonight. And let's put another one on the books for a little bit later on in the summer. What do you got coming up next? Anything you want to promote? Obviously, I have your YouTube tagged in the description of this episode, but also they can find you on Instagram, Luminary Lighthouse. But what would you like to call attention to?
Well, so I've got these, if you're a follower, I've got a series called That Don't Fit, and it's basically, saying this structure doesn't fit the narrative, or the narrative doesn't fit the structures, right? Something like that. And so these shirts are out. They're in the link in my bio. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. Facebook's been really popping off, which I'm excited about. It's only been 4 months, and I've got like 40,000 people that have hopped on. So it's really fun. I never thought anybody would have given a shit to listen to me, but here we are. So I do have some projects that I'm wanting to get in the works. My buddy Skywalker, he's also on TikTok. Him and I are trying to get a book together. We're getting the information, put together to do this. It'll be a bunch of my articles that I've had saved and some of the bangers I got, and you can hand it to your asleep friend and just, quietly walk away. And it'll be a fun read. So that'll be in the future. But yeah, I'm looking for new ideas. Want to start a podcast too, maybe with Sky. I'm not sure. Go follow him, by the way. He's wonderful. But yeah, this is just the beginning, really. This is just the beginning. So keep watching, and thank y'all for following me, the followers out there, and thank you, Frank. I appreciate it, bud.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Happy to call you a new friend of the show, and we'll do this again. And
Okay.
all the best to you, man. If we don't speak before Independence Day, have a happy 4th.
You too, my man.
All
All
right.
right. You have a good night.
Take care. There you go, everybody. Logan, Luminary Lighthouse, wonderful debut. What do you think? I have some things I want to show you guys. It all relates. It all relates. I got your super chats in here. Like I said, it's the last night. We're going to be doing the super chat giveaways. The raffle. The raffle will be in in less than an hour. You get this incredible little care package from Greece. It's the sea salt, the olive oil from the 1,000-year-old groves out there, the sage honey. But on top of that, I'm giving you some silver. What is this? A 1956. That's the last year that the Yankees defeated the Dodgers while they were still in Brooklyn. And then by 1957, California had its first 2 Major League Baseball teams out there. And 1964, I'm going to save this for the second place prize. I'm going to give the second place prize a little bit of chocolate too. And then I'll put a whole $1's worth. And yeah, and one of the Standing Liberty quarters is going to be in here with the first place prize. So 4 silver quarters, including the Standing Liberty, which will go with all of the Greece, all the oil and the salt and the honey from Greece. There you have it. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it. Okay. So, there's a lot of things there. I mean, I'm going to have to do a little bit more poking around into the more stuff. I know that maybe the Black Hebrew Israelites out there are going to love that idea that they were actually first ones here, and they built the Empire State Building, but nobody noticed it until 1932. Listen, there's a couple of things there I can't, and it's no skin off my back. I'm interested in it because it continues to gain popularity. Like I said, I've brought that up several times with Matt alone. Just say, run this through me. Run this through me. Yeah. Stab me with it, please. Would you please just impale me with this story? Make me understand it. Take it and shove it right through my gut. I gotta know. There's just too many communications between military, between everybody, just between farmers on Long Island. Why have we never seen any letters that reference a gigantic standing structure in the middle of Manhattan or in the Bronx? Somewhere there would have to be something that is that's an insane. Nobody ever drew a picture of it. So I'm just curious. I'm sure that is going to expand over time, though. Let's see here. Over on Super Chats, we've got Stostube. Thank you so much. Thank you, Stostube. Carmenina says, great topic tonight, Frank. I love jumping into these topics. Big time. Joe Martinez. just dropped a bomb on us and left. Road Trip says, don't erase pirates, samurai, Apache, or Comanche. That's not a balloon. It's a Zeppelin. Yeah, absolutely. But you want to know what a balloon is? A blimp. A blimp is a balloon. The Goodyear blimp is just a damn balloon. That ain't nothing like what we're talking about here tonight. And that used to be a really fun thing. Oh my gosh, look, a blimp. Very rarely we ever saw a blimp. But, you know, somebody's doing a special promotion somewhere, a blimp shows up, a Goodyear blimp, or there's probably a couple others there too. Firestone. Does Firestone have a blimp as well? When the PGA Tour went to Westchester Golf Course, we'd always know when the PGA was moving through Westchester Country Club, because there would be a blimp that showed up over the tree line off into, you know, Rye Brook, Rye Ridge area, Harrison. And I feel like I haven't even seen a blimp in 10 years. So it's interesting, especially how highly billed they were. You know, as far as how far back they were used, I don't know. There's plenty of documentation about the French and Europeans first starting to successfully navigate, whether it was for just, I don't know, recreation's sake or anything else, but hot air balloons. That's something that you see pop up a little bit in, I think, the 18th century. So I guess that would be the start of things, but history has definitely been hidden. How easy would it be to hide this kind of history? I'm very interested. And that's why I like bringing on people like Logan, who spent a lot of time reading into it. Let's see here. Jay Britt says, hey, Frank. Frank is back from his day off. Welcome back. Yeah, a day off, all right. Felt like a day off. I had to give myself a pep talk last night. Lauren texted me. She said, hey, it's okay. It's okay. You know, tomorrow's a new day and all that. I said, it's all right. I gave myself a pep talk. I'm fine. I'll be fine. And here I am. We're all live. We're together. Shotzi's the one that kicked it all off tonight. And it's good to see some new subscribers out there. Lieutenant Powers, Slav Mel, and we have nice action over there on Twitch now. May it only grow forever and always. All right, let's go to Rumble. I'm going to open up the lines, and then I have some fun stuff that is all related for you guys. But while I'm reading, you can also call in. Give me some quick thoughts. Here we go. Over on Rumble, Esther G gifted 1 subscription to Quite Frankly. And who was it claimed by? Oh, she's gifting subscriptions. People are grabbing it. Dana the Powerful says, just popped in, throw some money at you. Dana, I love you. Thank you so much. Esther says, bring Logan and Dr. Narco Longo on the same night with some hookah pipes, Frank, or other pipes. Good times will be had by one and all. Who is Dr. Narco Longo? But I will pack a hookah and listen to them speak, no doubt about it. Jay Semo says, great show as usual. Put me in for the raffle, please. Maybe the first North American indigenous people were the Moops, not the Moors. Just kidding. Who's the Moops? Could be. I believe anything at this point. Resets are done every 100 years and last 10 years. We are in the middle of one right now, says P7T3B in the Quite Frankly Rumble. And Nephilim says, lost history, old world, airships, one of my favorite topics. Great show, Frank. Here's a little for the Coconut Fund. Cheers to the old world, dude. Well, thank you. Let's take a call. Caller, you're on the air. Who's this?
Yeah, this is Nathan from Indiana.
Nathan.
I've corresponded with you before on email several times.
It's great to hear from you. What's on your mind? How'd you like tonight, and what are your thoughts?
Well, tonight was awesome. These just always keep the mind, thinking outside the box and all that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, I like it for that reason. Like you said, it's an exercise in many. Sometimes you find something that really clicks. Other times you go outside the box and you hear something that chases you right back into the box. and it doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah, when you sit there and you go, the Empire State Building was there the whole time. It's like, get out of here. But then you kind of think maybe it got uncovered by one of these things or something, or I don't know.
You never know. You never know.
But what I was getting at was, I just got out of the hospital. I was there for 4 days. I've got Crohn's disease, and in April I became Roman Catholic at the Easter Vigil.
Congratulations.
And oh, well, thank you so much. Like I've said in emails before, you and Timothy Gordon seem to help push me in that direction, and some of the great people I've met. But I didn't get to have Mass on Sunday. And yesterday, a priest came to my room and we celebrated Mass.
That I love hearing that. Just a short, yeah. No, that's awesome. Just a daily Mass, so like a 15 to 20 minute. Yeah,
and we had Eucharist and everything. I got to do confession first, so
that's always good when you can roll right into Mass from confession. So there's no time in between to screw it all up with a bad thought. That's what you need. Just
dude, and it was so freaky because the night before, I was doing the rosary, and when I got to the second decade, something frickin' punched the wall because this dude beside me was mentally or something going on, and something punched the wall, and I was like, oh no. I'm like, oh, you like that? So I started doing it a little louder. So
well, I hope. Listen, Nathan, I hope that you're well, and I hope that that things are looking up. And I'm glad you called in. Really, thank you, and keep it up. And of course, anytime you can't get through, you can always email, because I check all the inboxes as much as I can, especially if they are the sponsor emails. I prioritize those, but I try to answer everybody in as timely a fashion as possible. So thank you, and I wish you well, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Hey, man, just I've been listening for 7-8 years, and I love the show. I love you, and I love everybody listening out there, and it's just keep on keeping on, my man.
Same to you. Thank you, and I hope you feel better, and I hope one day maybe you can link up with Jay Gulanello and talk about your situation a little bit. That might be of interest to him, and maybe he can give you some clinical thoughts and guidelines.
Yep, it's definitely in the future. It's going to happen.
Wonderful. I like to hear it. I only want the best for people, and I like linking people up with each other. So all good things to you, my friend, and I'll talk soon.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Nathan, nice to hear from him. Okay. All right, real quick, let's take a break. Be right back. No, that's not it.
Dad, I think I am racist.
Nothing wrong with that, Simba.
But Scar said that we are all born equal.
Oh, your uncle identifies as they slash them.
Slash who?
What I'm saying is that your uncle is gay, Simba.
Hey, Rora, why are you a chicken nugget?
I'm not a chicken nugget. I told you already. And you're not going to eat me.
Welcome back, everybody. It's good to have you there. Okay, so here, we were talking about lost technology. We're talking about timelines for the future. I want to give you a couple of things that give you some hope for the future now. And I found two things, just so happens, on Oddity Central. We're going to take you to China for a moment. Here's something to keep you happy about what may be coming in the future. $13,000 autonomous robot toilet comes to the side of your bed. The Chinese company Yubon recently unveiled the Xiaoban Smart Toilet, an AI-powered toilet that can navigate obstacles and clean itself. For decades, maybe centuries, the phrase "going to the toilet" has been part of everyday lingo, regardless of language or culture, but like many other things, AI just might make it obsolete. Now they are sending the toilet to you. Look at that. You can sit right there. The toilet comes over to your bedside, and you can just flop right on into it and take a dump. Now, the most convenient part about this is having your bedroom smell like shit for a few minutes afterwards, of course. I know. You know, I would be more open to having a robot chair come and collect me from bed and bring me to the bathroom so that the bedroom doesn't smell like crap for about 5.5 minutes. Or that one night, oh my gosh. I'm not going to do that to Aurora. Never mind. You obviously have to be single. You obviously have to be single to use this. Can you imagine waking up at 2:45 in the morning and your spouse is just, you see them sitting by the bedside, but not on the bed, obviously, but they're by the bed. They're in a sitting position and they're just grunting into a pot. Can you imagine that? 2:45 in the morning? That's worse than waking up to a ring cam going off. Honey, can you send the toilet over here after you're done? This is the future I've been waiting for. This is the future I've been waiting for, where you go and you just push one out and then you just get back into bed and you send the toilet over to the other side because your wife or husband's going to go then too. And everybody's having a nice time. And there's the future. That was not at the 1898 exposition in Paris. Here's another one for you. Just a little bit, again, on Oddity Central. Freedom Ship, the mile-long floating city that can carry up to 80,000 people. Can you imagine the horror? Can you imagine the absolute horror of that situation? The concept of a floating city was originally proposed in the 1990s by an American engineer, Norman Nixon, but no one ever really attempted to build one. Blueprints for Nixon's original ship were dusted off several times over the last 3 decades, but it never progressed beyond discussions phase. Now a cruise line company claims the demand for a freedom ship, so ironic, is so strong that it could almost justify building 3 ships. We feel very confident that we can put this together, but the capitalization is key. Roger Gooch. Is this for real or is this parody? The guy's last name is Gooch. What a childhood he must have had. Chief executive of Freedom Cruise Line International told the Telegraph newspaper, adding that the company had hired a project manager, a designer, and a naval architect among a 12-strong leadership team to make the Freedom ship a reality. But even if and when Freedom Cruise Line International finds the necessary funds for this monumental project, bringing it to life is going to require a massive effort. We're talking about a mile-long ship about 10 times larger than the world's largest cruise ship. The hull would have to be built in pieces and then assembled offshore because no shipyard could accommodate this juggernaut. And for all of it to end up at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. For all of this, this is going to be the craziest sinking story of all time. We're talking about a mile-long ship. The hull, okay, the 800-foot wide and 30-deck high Freedom ship could carry up to 50,000 permanent residents as well as 10,000 visitors. Oh, you're going to live on it. All catered to by 20,000 members of staff. That's about 8 times more people than the total capacity of the world's largest cruise ship. They would be carried to and from the ship with smaller ships because it wouldn't fit in any port. Yeah. You'd have to take a Carnival cruise just to get to this thing. See what else they have. But there's the inside of it. And you know what this made me think about? It made me think about the Line project in Saudi Arabia. Now, that was supposed to stretch right across the face of Saudi Arabia. I don't know what the hell had been going on. That was like a half a $1 trillion or something like that they were talking about. And it's essentially a terrarium, but it was going to house almost its own environment. Obviously, it's residential for the most, but it's a contained civilization, but it is almost like a stand-up mirror that's going across the desert in Saudi Arabia. Well, they announced this a couple of years ago, and it was very ambitious. And all of a sudden, you start seeing the groundwork being the ground were being laid and all cleared and all that stuff. And I said to myself, "What the hell happened with this?" And I went and I did a search, and I found this archive. 1 month ago, this channel named Archive, ARKIVE, put this up. The line in 2026, what have they built so far? It's about 6 minutes long, so maybe we'll put it on, let me see here, playback speed of 1.25, just to take a little bit of the edge off. Let's see.
Look at this map of Saudi Arabia. It's mostly desert, but if you look at the satellite data from the last 3 years, you'll see something rapidly expanding. It's easy to get distracted by the flashy renders of the line, the 500 billion mirrored wall that's supposed to be the future of civilization, but that's just the PR campaign. Because if you zoom in, you see something else entirely. Hidden in the empty space surrounding the project, there's an industrial grid that the official marketing videos completely ignore. These are the work camps. There aren't just a few of them, there are over a dozen. They're scattered across the desert in a massive coordinated network. Some of these are huge, with thousands of shipping container housing units all sitting hundreds of kilometers away from the nearest city. When you map them out, you realize this isn't just construction. It's an entirely separate, closed-off economy. This is the largest hidden migration on Earth. Tens of thousands of workers living in a city that technically doesn't exist on any map, and won't exist until the project is finished. But there's a massive problem. This isn't just about moving dirt. It's about maintaining a grueling, high-pressure operation that the official narrative is designed to hide. We've spent weeks tracing the logistics and investigating the conditions of this sprawling network piece by piece, because this is the real hidden cost of building a city in the middle of nowhere. This is a typical NEOM camp. When you break down the site plan, it's clear that this isn't a residential project. It's an industrial-scale management system. The layout is entirely modular. You have a rigid separation of zones, one massive block for the living corridors, a central hub for dining, and a dedicated zone for site offices and maintenance. Everything is gated and perimeter fenced. There's only one way in and one way out. The living quarters are designed for high-density temporary housing. The priority isn't quality of life, it's throughput. You have tens of thousands of people sleeping, eating, and living within a few hundred meters of their assigned bus bay. The camp centers around this spine, a dedicated transit corridor for buses that run on a 24-hour cycle. This is the only way to move the sheer amount of volume of labor required to excavate a trench of this size. And the resources required to maintain this are massive. The desert here is hostile and provides zero natural resources, so to keep these camps running, the project has built an entirely independent shadow infrastructure. Localized power stations, water storage, and sewage treatment plants operate on the right edge of the residential grid. They are effectively building a utility backbone just to keep these camps running. When you track the supply lines coming into these sites, you see a constant non-stop flow of heavy trucks. They are hauling everything from fuel for generators and water to the residents. It is a massive, high-stakes supply chain that must function perfectly because if this flow stops, the entire project comes to a standstill. Yet there is a total disconnect between this reality and the official narrative. NEOM is currently running a massive global PR campaign. If you watch their latest investor pitches or their social media advertisements, you see a world of high production and cinematic renders. They are selling a vision of a human-centric future, a utopia of greenery, advanced sustainability, and an unmatched quality of life. They are effectively using these trailers to court international investors, painting a picture of a city that feels like it's already built. But notice what is completely missing from these videos: the workforce. There was no mention of the thousands of people living in these high-density grids. There's no mention of the logistical grind to keep them fed on site. The marketing is designed to erase the labor force and to sell an illusion of a city that appears out of thin air. They aren't just selling a product, they're selling a dream to investors, and to keep that dream alive, the industrial reality of the site has to be kept entirely off camera. The sheer scale of this logistics operation, the shadow infrastructure, the massive labor force, and the permanent cycle of transit reveals the true nature of this project. This isn't just a construction site, it's an economic gamble designed to outrun a deadline. Saudi Arabia is using NEOM as a fundamental pivot in their national economy before the global reliance on oil reaches its breaking point. They've effectively turned the desert into a too-big-to-fail operation. Every day, the project burns through millions of dollars to keep equipment moving and to pay workers. But when you analyze the progress, you realize that this isn't about hitting construction milestones. It's about momentum. The Saudi leadership has staked their entire international credibility on the claim that they can conjure a post-oil civilization in the middle of the desert. That creates a feedback loop and a political and financial pressure system. Because so much capital and prestige has been committed, the project has become impossible to stop. And even as the timelines shift and the sustainable goals are quietly scaled back, the machinery must keep running. It has become a project that demands more funding just to keep the illusion of progress alive. When you look at recent satellite data, you don't see a city reaching completion. You see a project that is in a constant state of redesign, where entire sections are excavated, rerouted, and pushed into a state of perpetual construction. Ultimately, NEOM isn't being built for residents. It's being built as a display of total state control. They aren't just trying to defy geography, they are trying to defy the laws of economics. The dark truth of this city is that it doesn't need to be functional to be successful. It only needs to keep the equipment running, the cranes moving, and the world watching long enough to convince us that the future is being written right here in the Saudi Arabian desert. Recent reports surrounding the project have detailed that the line has been scaled back from 170 kilometers to just 2.4 kilometers in recent reports. This reflects the rising cost that the project is incurring and the realistic expectations.
170 kilometers to just 2? I mean, can you even consider that a line anymore? Wow. I mean, listen, this was, I never thought that this is such an enormous thing. Did anybody think that this was actually going to succeed? I knew something was going to go crazy going to go nuts with it. I wonder what the hell it's going to be like. Even if they complete it, it's going to be a mess.
For building a 170 kilometer city in the middle of the desert. Whether the line ever officially opens its doors is almost beyond the point. The cranes, the trucks, and the thousands of people living in these isolated grids have already served their purpose. They have turned a void into a monument of ambition.
Wow. Okay, well, we all watched that together. So there you have it as far as futures that have been promised. Forgotten futures. And all those projects. So that's what's going on with the line in Saudi Arabia. That's crazy. And already $500 billion. 914-200-0269. I have a little bit more for you over here if you want to see that. Yeah, let's do it, shall we? We'll do it in a second. Let me get to some more super chats and open up the lines for your calls. And then I want to show you a few other things here that just got me in the mood. I found all these old lighters. You want to talk about old architecture, old infrastructure from the past, and wondering where the hell it all went. Whether or not it was all just thrown away, or whether we just got derailed and going into a much less classy direction. I think that could have been it. I don't know. I think that cultural subversion is so much more powerful than people think. I really do think so. That it could make, I mean, let's take a call. 530, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Frank. This is Jay. I got a hot tip for you.
Go ahead.
I meant to call in earlier in the week. My old bandmate wrote a book. I don't know when it's going to be out. It's Granny in the Attic, and it's about how the Masons bred two girls, two sisters. The Masons bred them in England in order to take over, to usurp the royalty and take over the government structure, which they did through Victoria. And this book is about my ex-bandmate in Northern California. It's about his family line, as he is related to Queen Victoria and her sister, which no one ever knew. The world never knew her sister. They kept her hidden in an attic in Wales. So just want to let you know about that.
About a Freemason breeding program to be able to take over the U.S. or the Royals. You were breaking up a little bit.
Sorry about that. I'm in my car. Yeah, to take over England, basically.
Okay. Well, I mean, send it my way. That'd be interesting because I know we've talked about the theories that the British royals actually aren't even human. So if they were being bred in, I mean, that would be an upgrade, I guess, if they made human in some way. But yeah, please send me anything you got on that, because that sounds like something that could be explored one night.
Okay, great. And I'll send you a link to his first podcast, which he did a really good job on it. But there's so much backstory. I wish I could. I mean, he had several texts to me explaining exactly what was going on, because this goes back to his grandmother, who was researching her family, and somehow this was years ago, but whatever was on the radar, they got into her computer and told her to stop looking, stop searching for what she's looking for. I don't know who it was, but. Is
she in the United States, or is she using the internet and doing this research in England?
She's Canadian.
Okay.
She ended up in Canada, but she remembers as a little girl, different things in the family to confirm. Obviously, if he took a blood test, there would be a relation to what's called the royal family, but it's not royal at all.
Got you. Well, I mean, then that makes a lot of sense that somebody would show up. Then again, we've had stories like that in this country about people just waking up and seeing their computers being hacked into and work deleted or swiped or anything like that. But in Canada, any extension of the UK, doesn't sound too outlandish. But send me what you got, sir, and thank you for the tip. That sounds like an interesting story.
You bet. I appreciate your show, and it'd be cool if you could get on the algorithm. If this thing ever gets any traction, it'd be cool if you somehow had some, the right verbiage online early before any of this. I don't know what's going to happen with this story, but it's just trying to give you a hot tip. That's all.
Okay. Well, sounds good. So this sounds like something that is a story that's bubbling and it's ready to burst. Well, I'm all for it. I really am. Over on Pilled, thank you so much, Sharon. I've been putting all the names in. Sharon, thank you. Sean Joe, Amethyst Cat, Sean Joe again, Silly Boar. I won't say I put in all the duplicates, but I'll just try to keep the shout outs down to the as efficient as I can. Tweety52, thank you for showing up tonight. Truthful Mama, JR at the Lake, Nathan W says good close to a week. Have a good weekend. Remember, tomorrow morning I'll be doing the Friday morning show. We'll be having coffee together at 10:30. Brought to you by Keto Brainz. I already can't wait until I can have it. And then Saturday night at 9:00, I will be center square on Foxhole Squares. And what I told my friend Sandra out there, I said, hey, listen, I'm going to give you my stream key for Quite Frankly.tv, my Pilled account, and just stream to both accounts. So Saturday night, 9:00, Quite Frankly.tv, I will be center square on Foxhole Squares, and that'll just double as the Saturday night special that night, starting at 9. Should be fun. Tommy Jekyll says, fragrant for only 5 minutes. Frank, how do you know that thing can leave the room it's in? How do you know that thing can leave the room it's in? Listen, I don't know. I'm not going to shit in a bucket. And it's actually a horrible thing to think about. Tommy Jekyll, but somebody's going to do it. Tommy Jekyll, thank you. Vesper says chutzpah for the win. And JR at the Lake giving everybody subscriptions to become sponsors of the show. Just free subscriptions laying around. They do that on Twitch a lot too. Very, very generous people. Thank you, Foxy Lady. Rosie says, oil me up. You got it. You mean olive, right? Olive oil? Got you. Corey J, Safety Net. Dwana Q says, I love coming here. Always interesting. Thanks, Frank. Amethyst Cat, happy Thursday, Frank. Let's see here. Silly Boar, happy Juneteenth Eve. I can't wait. You actually reminded me. I got to put out the Brian McClanahan throwback. How fun was that? Looking forward to Logan's return. Thank you, says Stephen and Lori. Another one from Rosie. JR at the Lake says, I'd love the silver to go with my copper round. Don't get greedy, JR. Deansy says, Frank, I just want to wish you a very happy non-gestational Parents' Day. Happy Hanukkah. Really laying it in there, aren't you? You're really laying it on thick there, aren't you, Dean? If he wins, that's going to be crazy. Mulberry says, great show. Love the topic. Me too. Me too. I really do. All right, let's see here. Did I miss Luminary Lighthouse? Says T-Dub over there on Badlands. Yes. We had him on for the first hour, but we're still talking about promised futures. You guys call in and tell me a little bit about futures you thought that we would have by now, technologies, things that were being glimpses of what a future America or the world could have been based on what has been displayed at past World's Fairs alone. I have a couple of things already written in here, actually. Let me see here. The 20 lost technologies, World's Fairs expositions. I have them in here. Let's see here. Let's see. Where is the World's Fair? Airship workflow. Hold on. Well, just lost technologies in general. Earth battery communication systems. Early telegraph systems occasionally use natural electrical potential. Mostly forgotten today. Mechanical television, a completely different technological path from electronic television, worked surprisingly well before being eclipsed. I don't even know what the hell that means. Let's see here. The World's Fair Technologies. Tesla, of course, he's always brought up. That whole battle between him and Westinghouse and Thomas Edison. That's an interesting thing here. Most influential prediction over exhibited may have been the Futurama display, the 1939 New York World's Fair. Do I have the 1939 New York World's Fair over there? What is that? The 27th? No, that's not it. The visitors saw automated highways, planned suburbs, integrated transportation systems, massive infrastructure networks. And much of it happened. Interstate highway system ended up looking remarkably similar to what was displayed. So, I mean, did the fair predict the future? Did it create the future? The atomic future. After World War II, fairs became obsessed with nuclear power. Promotional materials promised electricity too cheap to meter. Yeah. Too cheap to meter. Nuclear power ships, like I said before, aircraft, nuclear powered cities. We had 25% of New York City powered by nuclear before they shut down Indian Point. But even then, people are paying. People are paying. Nuclear, I didn't say nuclear in how many years since I said nuclear last? Nuclear desalination. Well, I mean, we have nuclear power that expanded somewhat, but all those other grander visions are gone. The household of tomorrow. One reoccurring fair attraction was the home of the future. Predictions. Robot servants. Well, now you have robots showing up at your bedside so you can take a shit in its hands. Please, shit in my hands.
Shit in my head.
Oh, that's
Where's the robot voice?
Shit in my hands, please. Treat me like a whore. Please, master, shit in my hands. Thank you, master.
Thank you. Every time you take a dump on the on the robot, it says "Thank you, master." May I have another? Is that all you got? Anyway, let's see what else do I have here. Automated kitchens. I mean, maybe your microwave has an IP address now. Push button meals. Well, I mean, we're many generations into TV dinners now, and it's not improving anybody's health. That's for sure. That's for sure. Smart appliances. Yeah, we got those. Video communication. We got those. We got those. A lot of that. Transportation dreams that never came true. Personal helicopters. Thank God. Can you imagine some Guatemalan immigrant just hovering the helicopter over your house and thinking it's okay because they have the hazard lights on? I'm telling you. In the rest of the world, the hazard lights must be like a get out of jail free card. You can do whatever you want. Just in the middle of the street. I got the hazards on. Move around. Jetpacks, not happening. Flying cars, not happening. Moving sidewalks everywhere. Wow. People wanted to have conveyor belt sidewalks all over the place, like in airports. You know what? That may happen. People are becoming so obese, so unable to move, so crippled for so many reasons. Even the people who aren't out of shape, aren't like morbidly obese, are still like, it's just arthritic. Epcot Center, Walt Disney's Lost City. One of the most fascinating abandoned futures is the original vision of Walt Disney. Epcot wasn't supposed to be a theme park. It was supposed to be a living experimental city. Constantly upgraded infrastructure, automated transit, and new urban design. Wow. Well, that didn't happen. I guess the big question is what future did we lose, guys? Because it's not like we haven't gone places, but it's just something's up. Something's up. And I really do believe that, like most things where politics is downstream of culture, everything else is downstream of culture too. And as much as I love talking about hidden histories and hidden cities that need to be unearthed, that are either taken over by vines in the middle of the jungles in the Amazon, something like that, or even it's right here, things that are just around us right now that you just don't understand the historical significance, because it only takes a generation or less for people to forget and have everything not go beyond myth, for it to be just undiscoverable again, because there's no context and no record of it. So it's totally possible. Here's a little something that I think is going to take a lot of you guys back, though. Last night, I saw this on Tumblr. And it was 46 seconds of just pure nostalgia, telephone nostalgia. You guys remember these? These designs. As soon as I saw this compilation, I had to go get the next couple of videos for you. Look at how incredible the class. This is just quirks and class on the design of all of these phones from the late 90s, early 2000s, mostly early 2000s. Take a look at this. Did you have any of these? That's awesome. Man, that is so awesome. The phones were getting smaller, but they all had character and like little hidden gems. And I mean, there's something so cathartic about things that click. That's why I always used to love. I mean, any small child growing up in the 90s used to love when Arnold Schwarzenegger or somebody, like you're watching Commando or something like that. Go pop Commando in. Watch Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando again. Whenever they get locked and loaded for a mission, and it's just click clacking, the racking of guns, click click schlick crack. Oh man, that's awesome. You are just ready. You are loaded up. You are weighed down. The same thing with all these phones. That was awesome. But then I said, you know what these phones remind me of? All of those videos that I've seen about these old lighters. These old lighters. And here's, let me see if I can get them. Here you go. There's this one place in particular. What is this? History Dune Flamme. I don't know. It doesn't seem, it's like it's English. Old lighter collection, round 1. Take a look at some of these awesome lighters from way back in the day.
Old lighters really sound different.
That's awesome. Of course, a satisfying click. Awesome. Damn. I would have to start smoking. Look at this. How dare you be so classy? Look at this one. The bell. Who the hell do you think you are? Sensational craftsmanship. Nah, it's too clunky for me. Cool, simple. What? Get the... What the hell? Oh, the hope that like that last part, his thumb went on fire. But wait, here's another one for you. Here's another one for you. Wow. I love it. Wait, there's one more.
Sorry, but
There you
all
go.
lighters are just more than lighters.
Look at this. Okay, that one right there. You pull that thing out and you go to light a dame's cigarette. Are you telling me that your chances of finding yourself a wife didn't just like double? That is so damn classy. The jet lighter. Oh, damn. The single claw.
I can't believe it's just a burning memory. Heartaches, heartaches. What does it matter how much
That's awesome. Awesome.
I should be happy with someone new, but my heart aches for you.
Go ahead. $19.20. See, I consider all of these lighters to be a part of how things were trending in the early 20th century. Now, I know 1920, Western civilization already suffered a major lance to the side, right through the ribs, World War I. And that World War II was going to be essentially a death blow that we're still kind of reeling from. We are reeling, circling the drain. But I feel like this is just more testament in a small little sense of the trajectory we were on. I really do think so. I believe so, 100%. That's just where my mind is with all that stuff. What do you guys think? We have a couple more minutes left. 8:53 914-200-0269. Give me a buzz, and we're going to announce the winner of this raffle in just a second here. Molly Artie says, please tell the Sentinel happy birthday. Sentinel, happy birthday. And Nathan says, all right, here's 10K. It's gold pills. Nobody go crazy. It's a modest little goal. We hit 10K on Pilled. Pilled is nuts. Wonderful crowd over there. Wonderful crowd all over the place. Thank you guys so much. Let me get Nathan and Molly back in at the bottom of that list. The list is complete. Nathan W., Molly Artie, representing Sentinel. Let's see, over on Rumble again, Nephilim says, yo, Frank, shout out to the Pylean Estates olive oil. I just received an order, and they included a few samples of their honey. Great people. Shout out, chat. Support them. Oh, great. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's what one of you guys are going to win tonight. That's what he's talking about. And that's why I like the giveaways. You know, we're gonna be doing a really nice giveaway next week. I have a couple other small businesses from the audience already lined up, people who have given a little something from their business, that throughout the week it goes into a raffle, and throughout the week a small business gets a couple of nice plugs that perhaps, you know, in traditional advertising exchanges would be a little bit more cumbersome. It makes it more accessible to people. I think it's great. Because look at this. Grecian olive oil. 608. Hello, who's this?
Hey, this is Bill calling from Wisconsin. How you doing?
It's great to hear from you, Bill.
Hey, so you brought up earlier those super ships, right? Those huge ships, like a mile long, 800 feet wide.
Yeah.
Like
80,000
holding up to 30,000 plus people, so on and so forth.
No, this one was 80,000. It was 80,000 plus 80,000 people, and I think 30,000 would be permanent residents and room for about 20,000, I don't know, tourists, and then you have staff. So it was massive, yeah.
Right. Oh, so do you know actually what made this idea popular? Because I do. You remember Ben Davidson? You've had him on the show before.
Oh yeah, he's going to be coming on again.
Okay, that's good because I love Ben Davidson. I mean, I'm not like a suspicious observer guy that watches every single day, but I'm aware of his work and the disaster cycle and catastrophism, and Albert Einstein was heavily into it, and just the whole wandering poles and the Earth flipping over on its side, and just all the things that it explains and everything that's wrapped up in it. But Ben Davidson had mentioned these super ships as a way for maybe I won't say the elites, but probably what I would suppose are the mid-tier class of elites or whatever, as a way to escape the what they call the sloshback, I think is what Ben Davidson calls it.
Yeah.
When the pole shift happens and all the waters, slosh back and flip over the continents, that the idea of these super ships being able to host so many people are actually a way to escape that cataclysm.
Well, I
didn't know if you knew that or not.
I would say, well, no. What you're saying is it makes a lot of sense, and I do follow that. I've seen all of Ben Davidson's maps, the post-flood maps of how everything is going to be. What that slosh back kind of motion would be like because apparently this 90-degree shift on the axis is one of those things that would happen pretty quickly. It's not going to happen over the course of weeks. It would happen within a day or so, and it'd be like shaking up a snow globe essentially. But if I were going to be in any kind of a boat that was going to survive that, I wouldn't be in one of those bigger ones. I would actually be in one that is strong, big, but a little bit smaller. Something about that length seems like a big tidal wave would crack that in half, and all of a sudden you're just sinking on a gigantic ship. I feel like it would actually be more effective to have a smaller ship, almost like how if you're going to the larger the glass window, the easier it is to break versus a smaller, thicker pane.
Yep.
I would take a little bit more of that approach to it. Not a small. It has to be big enough where you can, I don't know, maybe the size of one of those, at least one of those tankers that traverse the North Sea out there. Even though, to think about the kind of cataclysm he's describing, it would make the North Sea look like a calm day at the beach. So I don't know.
I know, right? The roaring 40s would look like nothing. I got to weigh in because I've actually given a ridiculous amount of thought, to this exact thing. What kind of a vessel could actually, survive such a thing. And as I often do whenever I'm fishing, I have a lot of profound thoughts and, and a lot of things pop into my head. And I was watching my bobber, in the waves, when I was actually fishing in the now Gulf of America. But back when it was the Gulf of Mexico, I lived right on it. And I was watching it and I was thinking about, pole shift and the slosh back and all this kind of stuff. And I started thinking about if somebody just built like a little life pod they could have in their backyard that, maybe was anchored or not anchored, but it was basically just essentially like a bobber that had your basic supplies in there, like food for, a year or something like that. It essentially was just like a bobber to where if it was going to happen, you and your family, whoever, could pop into this bobber and the damn thing would fly up and it wouldn't matter what you bounced off of. It would be unsinkable because it would be made out of essentially closed cell foam, as opposed to open cell foam that can, get saturated and so on and so forth. And I've actually written down. I've actually drawn out like certain styles of catamarans that can literally be flipped over on their backs and will pop back up with their mast and their sails like still erect, like, you know, that can actually flip over. Like I've spent so much time like literally like drawing and designing like these boats, because I used to be in the marine industry years ago, you know, of things that could actually survive like this kind of an event. And so yeah, it's interesting.
I can see, you know, I think when you were describing some of those devices and some of those you know, vehicles and whatever, the first thing I thought of was the little escape pod that Yoda used to go and flee to Dagobah for the first time. Like, you know, just something.
Oh my God, you're right.
Just something small enough. You got everything you need. You got to, you know, you just hop in and, you know, kind of ride it out. I don't know what the hell that would be like. Then again, and thank you for the call, sir. This is a great call. We read Lucifer's Hammer together for book club 2 Januaries ago, January of 24. And I don't know, man. If the earth is really, I know we probably have a couple of flat earthers out there that are just like, oh, he thinks the earth's a ball. And okay, but let's just say it is. And this is not just a magnetic excursion, it's actually a geophysical thing. I almost just want to be killed. Please. I'm going to live as a cannibal. Or have to eat my own arm when my potato crops, my 3 buckets of potatoes didn't pan out the way I thought they would, and all of a sudden we have nothing to eat. You know what? Just fucking kill me. That's what I say. I'm going to the beach. I'm going to the beach, and we're all just, that's it. Oh, here's one in the chat room. Look up the original Prague clock. It shows how the realm works, Frank. The earth is flat, Frank. There you go. A couple of BitChute videos and you're on your way. No, I get you. Well, here, I'll put it to you this way. I hope the earth is flat when it comes to Ben Davidson's predictions. How about we have some common ground on that one? I hope the earth is flat, because then at least, you know what I mean? But no, I think this is just what it is at this point. I think the only place on the East Coast that is not going to be underwater, what I heard, is some parts of Tennessee. You know, think about all the people converging on the same mountain. And no, that's all right. That's all right. We will see. But, okay. All right. That's it for tonight, everybody. I'm going to send you guys over to the flip side. We're going to do a little bit more of, I don't know, maybe we'll do a little bit more joy scrolling. The joy scrolling last night was really good. Some really good stuff. But we have one more super chat here too, actually. Jamie Hernandez says, at the Albuquerque Hot Air Balloon Museum, I read that the U.S. cut helium exports to Germany in the early 1930s. So that's why they were using hydrogen. Either way, that's one of the things here. Do you know, and you know, it's actually in the thread, that it was during World War II, the Allies, especially when they wanted to take down German, you know, dirigibles, especially if they were just reconnaissance blimps or whatever the hell it was, if they wanted to take those down, they had to invent and develop exploding ammunition, because the hydrogen was so hard to actually combust, you know, that it wasn't that easy, that you'd be able to maybe puncture the actual blimp end of things and bring it on down. But if you wanted to do catastrophic damage and actually combust the whole thing and whatever, then that's why there was exploding ammunition, just for that whole point. In fact, the people that were reporting on and giving the reasoning for what took down the Hindenburg, they actually went with the static electric spark thing that ended up being the main thrust of the complete Fed cover-up story to what took down TWA 800 in the 90s, when in fact it was a Navy cruise missile right there in Long Island Sound. That it was an early AI missile guidance system that tracked onto a commercial jet and killed everybody on board. And to this day, there really hasn't been any true public accountability for it. Still, for most people, it's like, oh, yeah, the spark in the fuselage. No. So, I mean, this is just like, that's an old Hindenburg trick. It's crazy. Only, whereas one was a mistake, you have to imagine, unless they're just going for target practice there. Whereas one was a mistake that nobody wanted to take accountability for, the Hindenburg is something else. Why? You know? Why? And if it was sabotage, why did the entire world agree on not pursuing airship travel? And here we are in 2026, and there's at least a few people out there who see the benefit, or at least the potential benefit, in moving cargo and people. I mean, I'm sure everybody who used to fly on Spirit Airlines would like to get on an airship right now. Take maybe about a day to get from Florida to New York, but at least it'd be cheap. It'd be quiet too. Pro Say Savage says a banana. Sent a banana, super sticker banana. I appreciate you. Thank you. Anybody else? Mama Boots says it's a Goodyear blimp. And then Berserking History in Buffalo. I put you guys in before. Frank, I'll email you some data on the very strong arguments against the Tartaria narrative. Well, I wish you would have gotten through tonight. I want to hear from everybody. That's what this all is all about. A talk show. But thank you guys so much. I think I have everybody accounted for. Everybody's accounted for. And now NX17, thank you, Unpilled. Here we go. Who is going to win? You know what? Let's give away a secondary prize first. Who is going to win? I'm going to put 2 silver quarters, a 56, and a 64 with a bottle of, a tube of botanical chocolates, the wild balls from yescacao.com. If you haven't tried these yet, I don't know what you're doing. I'm telling you, they're fantastic. It's health food. All right. Whenever Aurora wants those, unless it's just like right before bed, she usually gets a few. Go ahead. And I got 4 quarters over here, and all of your wonderful olive oils and salts and honeys from Greece. There it is. Who is the runner-up? Let's get to that right now. First one up is, let's pull the name, Bingo Bango, the Lizard P. Welcome back, Liz. That's from YouTube. There you go. And listen, guys, once again, there's 139 names in here. Not all unique names. People have thrown in multiple times over the week to up their chances. But I'm pretty sure that the Lizard P on YouTube put in what? 1 super chat? 1, 2 at the most, but I think it's just 1. You got to be in it to win it. There you go. The Lizard P gets the chocolate and some silver. You know, I'll send you a Polaroid too. I'll pull, and I usually write a little something while I'm there at the UPS store, so you'll get a little bit of a handwritten thing there too. Now, who gets the big prize? Let's pick another name, and that is, get out of here. Is it the birthday boy? It is. It's Sentinel. Good for you, Sentinel. So Lizard P and Sentinel. Congratulations. Congratulations. If Molly already would have won, it would have been Sentinel's gift anyway, too, I think. So happy birthday, sir, and all the best to you. And thank you, everybody, so much for just supporting the show. And remember, tomorrow night at 9:00 p.m., we're watching A Bronx Tale together. It's a Quite Frankly Film Club watch party. So many of you just became subscribers tonight by claiming subscriptions in the chat rooms. That means that you're there for it. You get to see what it's all about. But I just to let you also know, again, that if you go to patreon.com/Quite Frankly until July 6th, it's 90% off the first month. I wanted to make it 100% off for Independence Day but nothing more than 90%. So if you want to get in and punch your ticket to tomorrow night's film watch party and all of the book clubs and watch parties and Sunday streams and all the product discount codes, if you pledge more than $10, you get a t-shirt too. Everybody gets welcome envelopes no matter what you pledge. Me and Lauren are just sending out things to people constantly. That is patreon.com/quite frankly. Be there for the watch party tomorrow night. Buy yourself some organic popcorn, whatever the hell you want. Let's watch A Bronx Tale. It's a great film that is adapted from Chaz Palminteri's one-man show, which I think is going to be at the Capitol Theater sometime this year. And I saw the play, but I want to see the one-man. I want to see the one-man show. I'd love to have Chaz Palminteri in this film, in this movie, in this studio. I really would love that. That would be incredible. Like around the time that he's performing over there, that would be incredible. Anywho, thank you for your support, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for some coffee and next week for everything else. Have a good night.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Bitch. Quite frankly, is filmed for our live studio audience. And now our super chatters, starting with Jamie Hernandez, the Pro Se Savage, Mama Boots, Berserking History in Buffalo. Thank you, Dustin. Stostube, Carmenina, Joe Martinez, Road Trip 70, Road Trip again, Jay Brits, and Shotzi to kick it all off tonight. Thank you to our Rumble Ranters and our Gold Pillars. We're going to get around to you in just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, the link to the flip side is in the several chat rooms. If you can't find the link, go to quitefrankly.tv and just press play. We'll be there until the lights go off around 9:30 or so. Nighty night.